Logo of the U.S. Department of Transportation, Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration.
The material in this video is for training purposes only. PHMSA does not endorse any company or practice. Nothing in this video is meant to imply that PHMSA considers any depicted practice to be unsafe or in compliance. All copyrights, trademarks, and registered trademarks are the property of their owners.
Opening scenes: a driver collapses from exposure to chemicals. Firefighters and police refer to the ERG book for guidance. The 2020 Emergency Response Guidebook. Video number 1. Scene change: a slow zoom on the ERG book cover.
The 2020 Emergency Response Guidebook, also known as the ERG, is the latest version of a first responder's most important resource during a hazmat incident. Updates have been made to the 2020 edition. We will highlight the updates to the white, yellow, blue, orange, and green sections.
Scene change: shots of various transportation modalities by land, sea, and air.
Each day within the United States, a wide variety of flammables, corrosives, and toxic materials are packaged and transported via roads, rail, sea, and air. In all methods of transportation, carriers utilize tank trucks, box containers, intermodals, rail cars, aircraft, and container vessels.
Scene change: shots of pipelines, followed by containers on a ship in a harbor.
There is over 2.5 million miles of gas and liquid pipeline that wind through our metropolitan, urban, and rural settings. According to the U.S. Department of Transportation, every year, more than 1.6 billion tons of hazmat shipments, including explosive, poisonous, corrosive, flammable, and radioactive materials, travel through densely populated areas of our nation. The majority of shipments arrive at their final destination safely and without incident.
Scene change: shots of hazardous materials accidents and explosions.
But incidents will occur, and the time and place will be as unknown to you as will the type of transport vehicle involved and the properties of the hazardous material it will be transporting.
Scene change: a law enforcement officer with binoculars views an incident.
Your safe and swift corrective actions can limit or prevent harm to people, property, the environment, and yourself. Failure to respond correctly could be catastrophic.
Scene change: firefighters arrive and refer to the ERG book. Text on screen reads: ERG is available as a book or digital app.
The Emergency Response Guidebook, or ERG, is a key resource for guidance to the safest approach and response in the initial phase of an incident, where every minute can influence the outcome. This video presentation is for responders who are either unfamiliar with the ERG or are looking to learn more about the basics of using the guidebook. This video instruction will familiarize you with the contents of the ERG as well as how to navigate its pages.
Scene change: two medics stand in front of an ambulance looking at the ERG guidebook.
It's important to note that viewing this video is not a substitute for personal hands-on learning that will enable you to become proficient at accessing what you will need in an emergency. The ERG will help you interpret information about an unknown material, its potential behavior, and the appropriate actions to take in an emergency.
Scene change: a civilian driver has collapsed from hazardous materials exposure. Two firefighters approach to rescue.
It is your responsibility as a first responder to protect yourself and the public during the initial phase of an incident. Using the ERG guidebook in your everyday work, preparing for hazmat incidents, can save lives. The Department of Transportation is responsible for the safe and secure transportation of hazmat. The ERG encapsulates all the hazard identification and communication links that are required by law. It is the responsibility of manufacturers, shippers, and transporters to use a system of labels, placards, markings, and shipping papers on all materials and transport vehicles. OSHA standards provide that the first line of hazard communication and responsibility begins with the producer of the product. Most often, this information comes in the form of a safety data sheet, or SDS. The manufacturer is obligated to ensure the safe management of the product for the duration of its existence, from cradle to grave. The shipper of the product is required to provide a shipping document based on Department of Transportation regulations, an emergency response telephone number that is monitored at all times when the hazmat is in transportation, a hazard class or division number, 4-digit ID number, and a proper shipping name. And finally, the transporter is the steward for the safe movement of the material. They're required to provide you with the proper shipping paper as well as to ensure that the transport vehicle displays the required placard for the hazmat. In some cases, involving international intermodal containers, an orange panel for material identification may be present with or without a placard.
Scene change. 3 firefighters standing together. Utilize both the ERG book and digital app.
Your correct usage of the ERG is an important tool in initial hazard identification. First responder actions past the initial response should use 3 sources of information prior to making tactical decisions.
Scene change. The ERG guidebook slowly rotates on screen.
Before we discuss how the ERG is organized, let's give some context to the use of the ERG. Let's talk about some real possibilities that exist for you when approaching an unknown hazmat scene.
Scene change. A graphic is titled General Hazardous Materials Behavior Model. It depicts a hazardous material container with matter inside. Stressors affect the container until it breaks open.
In one of Ludwig Benner's General Hazardous Materials Behavior Models, a container of material is stressed in multiple ways, either thermally, mechanically, chemically, or other ways according to the model. When stressed, it will most likely breach and release its contents, engulfing anything in its pathway. Never underestimate the possibilities when dealing with chemical reactions.
Scene change. A close-up look at an ERG guidebook page with chemical reference information.
In this instance, the letter P next to the ERG's guide number would have informed you that the product may polymerize if subjected to high heat or if contaminated. According to Benner's model, risk assessment must begin at a distance. When arriving at a hazmat incident, your first responsibility is to keep yourself and the public safe. Resist rushing in. Position yourself upwind, uphill, or upstream from the hazard, and stay clear of all vapors, fumes, smoke, and spills. On the day when you are called to the next hazardous materials accident, the goal is that you are ready. All the information you need on how and when to use the ERG can be found in the opening white pages.
Scene change. Pages from the white section in the ERG book,
including how to use this guidebook instructions in a flowchart format. The ERG 2020 edition has been expanded and updated, including shipping documents, table of placards, markings, and labels, rail and road trailer ID charts, pipeline transportation, protective clothing, IED safe standoff distances, and emergency response telephone numbers. New sections have been added to include an area to add local emergency response numbers, a table of contents, and a globally harmonized system of classification and labeling of chemicals. In the yellow and blue bordered pages, all new dangerous goods have been added that are listed in the UN recommendations on the transport of dangerous goods up to the 19th revised edition. 2 new orange guides for absorbed gases were added, and in the green bordered pages, initial isolation and protective action distances in tables 1 and 3 were updated based on new toxicity data and reactivity research. A table for estimating wind speed from environmental clues was added in the How to Use Table 3 section. Anytime you look up a hazmat in the ERG, you will begin with either the yellow pages or the blue pages. Those pages will guide you directly to the center of the book, where the orange guides are located. The orange section is ultimately where you want to end up in the ERG. It contains the information you need for a proper and safe response. If you find the 4-digit ID number first from the placard or from the shipping document, then you will go to the yellow pages and look up that number numerically. The orange guide number will be in the column beside it. In this case, Orange Guide 128 will give you the information that you need. If you find the name of the material first, which can be found on package markings or on the shipping paper, Then you will go to the blue pages and look up that name alphabetically to find the orange guide number, and again, we see it leads us to Orange Guide 128. It's important to read the full name of the material, as well as the correct spelling. For example, if you were to look up arsenic, you need to know whether it is arsenic bromide, arsenic chloride, or another arsenic variation. This will keep you from going to the incorrect guide. The orange guides are the core of the ERG. You will find three major areas: potential hazards, public safety, and emergency response. Each orange guide number is for a group of materials with similar chemical and toxicological characteristics. The key to using the ERG is applying the data points we'll be discussing to get you to this orange section. This completes Video 1 of a three-part series. Please review your emergency response guide, either hard copy or app, as we transition to Video 2, Application of the ERG in a Simulated Response.